Welcome to Podsongs, where we interview inspirational people in service to others as inspiration for a new song. Today's guest is Dr. Michael Gervais, a performance psychologist, author, and host of the Finding Mastery podcast. And my musical collaborator is Katie Welch. We tried a few different guests, I remember, and it didn't work out. But now we've got...
He seems very my vibe, too, so I'm excited.
Great. Did you have a chance to check him out?
I did.
So what is he doing now? He's for the Seahawks, like a therapy.
Oh, is he? Like full-time?
I think so, yeah. We're going to get to the bottom of that, find out what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that. I always love talking about psychology. So anyone that is proficient in that field is always fascinating to me.
Yeah, we can learn a lot. It's something we can all relate to, isn't it? I mean, because we're all a bit crazy and, you know.
Especially artists. It's
it comes with the territory now.
Against the normal structure of success, I think.
Yeah, we really have to put ourselves out there, and can be damaging, no? If you're not... I think everybody's doing it these days with social media and everything, you know, even non-artists. So
yeah, honestly, with the dawn of TikTok and all of these other things, everyone is sort of putting themselves out there in a creative way, hoping for, you know, monetary success by being themselves, which is beautiful, but also bizarre.
Yeah.
We can talk about all those things.
Yeah, we'll get into it. And so what we'll do is we'll start with do an interview with you first. We'll go live.
Okay, cool.
Not live. We've already recorded. And then because I try and avoid editing too much together, and then he'll join us, and we'll just kind of carry straight into it.
And is this chair too squeaky? Can you hear that like every time?
I can hear that. Yeah, don't move at all.
Okay.
So where are you? Because you're in LA now, is that right?
I am.
And where are you from originally?
I am from South Florida, Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
But I've been here now for 10 years. So it's
South Florida.
It's funny. Fort Lauderdale.
And so why did you move to LA? What was the reason?
You know, there wasn't a whole lot of planning. I was in a girl group, sort of, in college, going to college. And I got like pulled into this sort of urban pussycat doll style group with one of the basketball wives. And while I was doing that, I just, you know, kind of got a taste for the industry. And I was like, maybe I can't, because growing up in South Florida, my parents are no one in my family is in entertainment. My mom and my godmothers did a lot of like local singing, but no one was like seriously in the entertainment business. So to like believe that was a career was just nuts to me.
Television,
you know,
yeah.
Growing up, and my family is much more of like the teacher, lawyer, education type.
Okay.
So being a singer or a dancer was not in the plan for anyone in regards to me, but it's what I always felt like was right for me. And when I joined I did the girl group thing for about a year, and it was just going a million different ways. And I knew a manager in LA. So he was like, why don't you come out and visit for a couple weeks? You can stay in school, just do it online and go back and forth. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And as soon as I got here, I was like,
Big time.
this is where I need to be. And I called my parents and I was like, I'm not going back to Orlando because that's where I was in
Wow.
college at the time. I was like, I'm going to move here. And so
Mm.
I like found a roommate, found an apartment, like went back to Florida, packed up all of my stuff and just moved across the country without much thought.
Mm.
And thank God my parents are like nice, supportive people. They also knew they couldn't like stop me.
Right.
So it was like, okay, either we like, get behind
What do
this.
they think now?
I mean, they're super proud and super, I mean, they're always like, are you gonna be able to support yourself?
Mm.
Are you planning for your future? And I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be great. That's the plan. So we're very different people in that regard.
Right.
But I'm under the firm beliefs that like somebody's got to believe it. It might as well be me.
Yeah.
So why not like go all in and bet on yourself?
Yeah. And you say you're an activist and philanthropist as well?
I am. I work with an amazing organization called Boo to Bullying. It's an anti-bullying organization, and I helped them. I created a children's program to sort of prevent bullying before it happens is like the goal, but it's geared toward a lot of their programming is geared toward like middle school and high school kids who are really getting bullied and really struggling. And they really needed something for elementary. And I had come up with this concept and been working on it for, gosh, like 8 years. And I just happened to be at, my friend, one of my dear friends is the vice president, just happened to be at her apartment while her and the president were discussing, needing to find elementary programming. And I was like, hey, you guys, well, I have this thing. If you want to try it. And we did a pilot program and went really well. Ended up getting a grant so that we could virtualize the entire program because right after we did our first one, COVID hit. And so kids weren't in school anymore. And then cyberbullying was right through the roof. And
Cyberbullying, I was going to say, yeah, it doesn't stop. These days, it's credible, no?
And that, I mean, sorry, this chair is awful. The cyberbullying is so much worse than normal bullying because it can
People are
just come at you from so many angles, and people say the worst things. Like, when I was growing up at least, like someone wanted to bully you, they had to do it to your face. And that also meant they might get punched in the face. I'm from Florida. People are wild. So
Was
like,
this inspired by you? Were you bullied? Is this too much to ask? Can I ask if you were bullied, or is that?
yeah, no, I really wasn't, to be totally honest. I was never, the idea really came because my youngest brother was always like, he was like one of the cool kids, but he was always standing up for the sort of, the nerd or the little lost soul or the kid that had no friends. Like, I remember from a very young age, like that was the kid that was always invited to my brother's birthday, that he was always standing up for. And my parents had gotten like a letter home from his school. And they were like, oh God, what did he do? What did he do? And then they opened it and it was a beautiful letter from the guidance counselor about how, everyone was picking on this girl and he had told them all to knock it off and just how sweet they thought that was. And so I love psychology. So I like try to tap into the psychology. My youngest brother is a wonderful person, but I think a lot of that came from having two older siblings that had already kind of paved the way for him. So he felt very empowered from a very young age. He has wonderful parents. He has two older siblings. So my brother knew that he could stand up for the kid that needed standing up for. And if someone ever came at him, me or my brother would kill him, So I was like, how do I how do I teach that kind of empowerment to kids who aren't as lucky as me or my younger brother to have that support system? Because so many kids in this country and all over the world, are just at such a disadvantage
Yeah.
in the game of life. And I'm a very positive person. It's very easy for me to be a very positive person because my life has been absolutely a beautiful blessing. And I was
Yeah.
so privileged and fortunate to have the family and the support system and friends and all of it that I have. But I am very cognizant of the fact that most people don't have that. So
Could I ask you one thing? Because this is
Mhm.
great. I want to use this, but your hair is on the wrong side. Your hair is on the mic. So
Oh,
yeah, if
got
you
it,
just
got
put your
it.
hair the other side. Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
That's great.
Beautiful.
So it sounds like you're in a mode of gratitude now. That's what it really sounds to me like. You're
Very much so. I mean, that is when we're grateful for what we have, we will always have enough. And that's actually like one of the lines I teach the kids in my program. So it's called Cape Nation, and it stands. Our motto is that anyone can be a superhero because this is our world to save, to change, to make a better place, and it starts with you.
Wow.
So, like from the jump, we're saying like, take control of your lives. You can do anything, but you have to believe it. And CAPE is an acronym that stands for courage, appreciation, personal health, and education. Because if you want to be a superhero, all you have to do is put on your cape.
wow.
And then we go into like little vignettes, like kind of breaking everything down. Like in courage, I tell them, courage doesn't always mean running into a burning building and saving someone. Sometimes courage is just being brave enough to get out of bed in the morning because the world needs you.
Hmm.
You're all different. You're all unique. Every single one of you. If you don't show up in the world is not the same.
Wow. And is there a theme? Do they have a theme song for this for Brutal Bullet?
We're working on it. You want to help me?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm thinking because, with because I was thinking get you with Dr. Michael is great. You can learn a lot, I can learn a lot, but it sounds like we can use this and get him to talk about how he can help kids, because
Yeah.
he's dealing with young athletes, I think, a lot of the time, but he must know about even younger kids. So yeah, this could be fantastic. Because I'm trying to get this podcast about service, people who are living in service to others, because that's trying to be the theme. Sometimes it's a bit grey. Not all the guests are doing that, but in their way they are. Even lawyers. Although some of the lawyers I've had on have been really great. They've been doing campaigning to reverse bad judgments and things like that. So wow, fantastic.
The whole concept of this is so cool. I love it.
Thank you.
Genius.
Well, you
Stroke
get
of genius.
it is, but I was just lucky but then it leads to all these other synergies. Every episode you get this thing like you with this, and then people get to speak to their people get to speak to interview their heroes and things like that. And so I'm helping the dreams, they roll on from this. So it's great if we can do this episode with focusing on helping the children. Yeah.
Well, even just putting more music out into the world with a positive message that's informative and interesting and
Sure.
important. Like Shaman Durek, who I had mentioned, maybe trying to get on here, talks a lot about that in his book called Spirit Hacking, just about how so much of pop music and what's on television and all of this stuff is, programming us into the matrix to feel less than and feel like who we are is not enough because you don't drive this car and you don't have this stack of money and you can't make it rain at the club, which is a total illusion.
I tried to get him on, but he didn't work out. But there's so many people.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so many of these people are so busy.
Yeah, well.
They can't say yes to everything, unfortunately. I have not learned that lesson yet. I say yes to everything, and then I'm like...
So what's your next project after the high of Podsongs? How can you possibly, what are you going to do after this?
I have a session today, and a meeting. I'm kind of like collaborating with a bunch of other artists. We're trying to figure out how we can throw our own like concert events. Because to me, of course, once the world opens, I want to go on tour. But when I went to college for a little bit, I was studying event management and hospitality in Orlando, which is a very, it's like one of the top hospitality schools. But I just love people, and I love the psychology of what makes people tick, and especially something like music that is so uniting for so many different kinds of people. How do you leave them with more than just a couple songs? How do you create an entire experiential concert event where that people can like hold on to for longer than just, here, I played you a few songs. Bye. Oh, sorry.
I used to do a lot of house.
Too? Is that on or no?
No.
Be closer. No.
I think I'm getting the mic from the hair.
From the headphones. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it coming through clear?
Yeah, it is, but yeah.
Okay.
Don't put the hair on it. That's the only thing. So
perfect. I will keep that out of the way.
I used to do a lot of house concerts, and they were great because you can do this outside too in the summer, and garden shows, and then you really get to. That's really a trip because you divorce that when you're on stage, and the audience is out there. That's gone because you're eating at the buffet with them afterwards, and you're sleeping in the house, so it's super nice. Have you ever done any house concerts?
I haven't. I'm not even sure that we have that over here.
Oh yeah, it's a big thing. Yeah. Well, I've toured America. I've done a lot of house concerts in America, and there's websites for it. And
are you like a so far sound type of thing?
Yeah, that kind of.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got my friends that sort of do their own called lower deck sessions. It's very cool.
Okay, on the deck. Outside.
It's like up in the Encino Hills. It looks like the south of France. It's like you don't even feel like you're in LA. It's really beautiful.
And your music, what I've heard of it is super great, super produced. Do you also play acoustic?
Not well enough to play for myself, to be totally honest. Like I play with so many amazing musicians that I would never pretend like I'm very good at that.
Me too.
But I was always more of like a entertainer. Like I grew up dancing too, so I was like, why do I need to play an instrument? I'll just like put on a show. Much more my vibe.
Okay.
You know what? Have I listen to a lot of podcasts. I feel like I've done like different kinds of interviews. Like on YouTube. I did a channel called Cream on Top. That was really cool. And a few things like that. More live stuff. I did like a soul sessions with this girl who does it all. Or over quarantine, she was doing it all on Instagram Live, which was cool. She was doing like virtual all-day concerts and just having different artists like log in at different times. I'm trying to light myself on this side.
Oh, you've got a circular lamp.
Oh, yes, a ring light. Game changer.
Ring light, yeah.
Game changer. Woo. Too great.
There you go. Yeah, I haven't really used. I record the video, but I never. It's so much time to edit the songs and the podcast and record the songs that I never really get round to
doing the video side.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Perfect. Because I am exhausted this morning, and I was okay.
Oh yeah, well, it's morning for you. I keep forgetting.
Yes, I work
with
part of my team is in London, so I meet with them every so often. And it's always like the end of his day and just the beginning of mine.
So for a musician, that's depends.
Mhm.
Sometimes you get
Oh,
people at
that's
their best.
much nicer, even.
I should get one of those.
Oh, it's so amazing.
Look at that.
Amazon,
Look at that.
what a gem.
You're only seeing half my face here, and this side's actually better.
I know.
So
I can't stop. I'm like,
you could do your makeup now. You can see all that.
which I like
You can see you.
threw someone really quick, but I was actually at a music night last night.
So what is that? Are they open in LA? Then you're allowed to socialize, or?
It was felt very like prohibition, like we were doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's prohibition.
But also,
Yeah.
like, people need people. Pretending like it's healthy or normal, or it's been a year. It's been a year.
Wow, it's been a year since you went to a concert.
Well, not me, but I did bring a friend last night, and it was her first time out in over a year. But like, she's vaccinated, so she was like, okay. But it still like felt weird. It took her a second to like, oh my God, why are people talking to me? Oh my God, why are, people close to me? I went to a COVID safe concert in Miami. That was so interesting. It was in January, and it was like in a big ballroom, and they sold tickets or tables of like 2, 4, 6. And just to watch people, like as the concert started, like no one knew if they should stand up or if they were allowed to have fun. And then by the end, everyone like had a couple of drinks and was totally fine.
Yeah.
But so interesting.
Yeah, that's something else we can talk to Michael about, because post 2020, people are messed up.
It's scary. I mean, that's what scares me for kids, like COVID babies and people who. I do not have social anxiety. I love people. I love, finding out what makes people tick and talking to strangers and all of that. And my first time out in a crowd, so I was also back in Florida, which is just like a lawless land, and people.
Oh yeah,
it was scary.
There's no virus.
Oh
no
no, they don't have time for a pandemic. They're too busy going on the boat and drinking beers. Like, they're nuts. But I went to dinner with my friends, and then they took me out to this like bar lounge, and there was just so many people like not wearing masks and so close to each other. And I was like, and my friends are like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I haven't talked to a stranger in a year. Like, no, I am not okay. I am not, I'm not handling this well." And then I had a couple tequilas and like relaxed, and it was fine.
I think alcohol fumes help keep the virus away, though. I think that's scientifically proven.
Especially tequila. That's what I've heard,
Yeah, if you can...
But I'm participating in a research study about it. I wish.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
But I do think that like positivity helps control the virus in your immune system, and like we know that to be true. And I'm much more of a, I got COVID and was like asymptomatic and didn't know I had it. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But like for some people, it's terrible. But so much of our reality is based on our thought patterns. Like, two people can have the exact same experience and perceive it completely differently. All based on how you come at it.
Yeah. Wow, this is so tying into the episode.
I know. I'm so excited. We speak the same language. So I'm excited to like pick his brain.
Well, I'm going to let you drive this one then.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I'll let you,
You probably know more about his, or do you do 3 of these a week? How do you know everything about everyone? Just ask good questions.
Do research in the morning. I listen to them being interviewed on other podcasts, and then I write down the questions.
Nice. that you want
So
to
I've got
answer
a little
on
notebook
yours.
here with it that he knows the answers to these questions.
Cool.
Yeah. But it just flows. This guy's been doing a podcast since 2015. He's interviewed hundreds of people, and he's a psychologist, so he doesn't even need us here. He can talk.
Love that. That's kind of how I am.
Yeah. There's just one thing. If he's talking and I don't have a question, I'll just move away from the mic, and if I have a question, if I'm desperate to speak, I move my hand forward. And there's maybe something you could do as well, just to let me know that you're going to speak.
Okay.
Because if we do this thing where if oh no, you ask. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You go ahead. No, oh no, you go ahead. That doesn't flow well. So as we have video, try and do a, so then I know that you're going to speak now. So I can we can exaggerate like going over. Yeah. There we go. Now I know. Because people, when they're speaking, he kind of going to kind of wind down. Usually they say, well, I'm speaking like this, and then I kind of finish myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then we know we have to prompt with another. We're basically prompting here. So
I talk a lot, so or like I socialize a lot when it's not COVID.
That's great.
So I'm pretty good with
that's great. Well, I'm happy if you can ask all your questions. I've got a few prompters here if we dry up. So we just need to make sure we get some idea for a song out of this. That's the
Mm-hmm.
as well. So I think they could be great to do with the kids. So
We can
child
we can
psychology.
totally do that. But I think the whole at least from what I saw, something he speaks on quite a bit is, shifting your brain from negative to positive. And like
Okay.
ways to do that. Like I saw he has like a 4-step program. I want to know what that is.
Okay. We'll get that. Yeah, because his podcast is called Finding Mastery. So it's going to be about, I think it's about mastering yourself, isn't it, really? Because you're your biggest negative
Well,
and your biggest positive. Yeah.
And the whole reason we're here is to have an experience. We're all the same soul, just living a different reality. Seeing a different perspective, and you're in control of your own perspective. And we're all right from our own perspectives. There's a bridge of truth that connects all things, But
yeah. Have you thought about your purpose? Have you established a template plan for this round?
like a motto for myself?
Or what are you going to do? What are you going to accomplish this time around? Have you nailed it down? Or
I mean, I'm pretty certain it has to do with music and entertainment. But my lesson, I think, that I'm working through right now, because I don't actually know why I'm like this, but I've always been able to kind of just control my life because I just do it. And so my lesson right now is letting go of control and trusting the universe. So it's okay that I don't know exactly how it's supposed to look. I know what the end goal is. So I'm trying not to get in the way of the path or think that I know the path when there's a way better one that I could be on. And I just need to keep myself right and that align myself with that opportunity to be able to reach me. Because that's it. That's something Lacey talks about a lot too, Lacey Phillips. And she just had a baby. So she's like out of commission for a while. But you should absolutely have her on. She's fascinating.
Okay, yeah, I did reach out to her, but yeah, that I do think I think I remember getting the baby.
I think she's on maternity leave.
As far as a reason for not coming on a podcast, that's not for. Yeah, I think also when you're born, your higher self can also choose your star sign. Like this is why some babies are born premature and some late. It's because it affects when you're born. as to what lessons you got.
Well, absolutely. It's what your soul needs in this lifetime to be able to succeed. Like, we already have all of the tools. Before, we didn't know anything. We knew everything, and we chose it for ourselves for a very specific reason. Even our families, everybody comes in to the exact situation they need to get what they need out of this lifetime.
It's a classroom. Earth.
Classroom Earth. I love that. Try to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also if you find from when you don't learn a lesson, it keeps repeating. You know, if you don't understand something, like you get it, you don't. It could be a relationship.
Oh, I've dated the same
It's a good
person in
example.
different bodies like 5 times until I figured it out. And I was like, oh, okay. Lesson learned. Never again, please. I'm done.
There you go. And did it? It never happened again, no? Yeah. Once you open, you say, okay, I get it. I understand. I'm not gonna repeat it. Then it really makes a difference. Yeah.
But until you acknowledge it and work through it, that lesson will just keep coming back.
And you can see it happening to other people, but you can't tell them. You can't say, listen, they really have to get it for themselves, no?
Oh, 1,000%. And they have to be ready. You know, a lot of people aren't ready. Some people need it still. Like, one of the healers I work with is like, asked me if I was ready to like release something. And I was shocked that my immediate reaction was no. Because like, I know I should, but I'm just not quite ready to let go of that one thing and cut the cord and release it. But I know I will be soon. And when that day comes, you know, we can do that together. But she was like, you'd be shocked how many times people say no. Like, this like trauma and this block, like it's too comfortable. It's too much a part of who they are. They're not ready to cut it off yet.
Wow, it must be so tough to be a therapist or a psychiatrist and then here's the door. Just walk through this door. It's easy, you know.
No, I'd rather sit here in a blazing fire of my own creation than walk through the door and hose off and not be in flames. Some people are like that, though.
Yeah.
We have so many interesting things to talk about today.
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we actually need Mike. I think we could just do the show here. I'm actually a member of I was just doing a pranayama exercise before I came on the show, hence my glow.
Wow.
It was taken from LA. It was from LA. I'm a member of a spiritual organization called the Ethereal Society in Hollywood, in London and Hollywood.
What's it called?
The Ethereal Society.
You have to email me that.
Yeah, I will do. It's in West Hollywood, I think, and also in London. It's a very small organization, but it's like yoga and pranayama, and also UFOs. So it's kind of yogis meet UFOs. It's kind of a strange.
Love that.
Could be a big barrier.
Love that. Very into both.
Okay, great. Well, I'll send you some links. Yeah. Yeah, I got into it about 2 years ago, and that's why I'm doing this podcast, is because I wanted to promote it. That's what launched me to do this show.
Oh, genius. The whole concept of this, though, I just think is so wonderful. Like, there needs to be more music about important things, not just like Bugattis and, heartbreak.
I think it's also for the Aquarian age, as we come into that, more scientific age. There you go. Yeah, things have to be for a purpose. I think it's a scientific age. We had Pisces, which is, more aquatic. And now we're in this real Piscean. Oh, sorry, Aquarian age. Yeah.
I am very Aquarian.
Okay. Well, you're in your element.
And it's funny, my mother was in a production of Hair when I was young. Yay!
Guys,
We started without you, Michael. Sorry.
yeah, so
Good
sorry.
morning.
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, I've got a little better camera and mic. Let me see if I can get those up. I don't see it's not picking up my camera and mic. Huh. We're okay though.
Yeah, it sounds great. What's rule 3, Michael?
I know. Good man.
Let me just throw that out there.
Good man. Oh God. Yes. Okay. I need to
I couldn't resist it. I'm sorry.
I need to eat it.
I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't resist that. Thank you so much for joining us. So,
Yeah.
so this is Katie.
Oh my God, your dog is
Uh,
amazing. Sorry.
Oh, look at that little guy.
Oh my
He's-
God.
Yeah.
He's really sweet.
That is my kind of animal.
Oh yeah, he's
Big
really
dog
a happy
person.
dog. Yeah, he's a happy dog.
Is he a doodle?
Yeah, Australian Labradoodle. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Ah! He knows we're talking about him. He knows we're talking.
Yeah.
Oh, there he
I
goes.
know.
He says, "Want to see me up close? I'm very cute."
He shows up all the time.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Doodles are the best. I think if everyone had a doodle, the world would be a much happier place.
Yeah.
You can tell a man from his dogs now. So she's reading you now, Michael.
Watch out.
Yeah.
They're just pure joy. Like everyone needs a little pure joy in their life.
They're definitely bred for that. And so yeah, he's a happy little guy.
All right. Well, let's kick things off. So this is Katie, who's our musical guest today. She'll be singing the song.
Love your music. Thank you for introducing me to it. Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
And you're the guest. You inspire.
Okay.
So, but I think you can do that. I mean, you've been podcasting since 2015 now. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've had fun doing that. That's for sure.
Where are you based?
So
I'm in LA, Hermosa Beach.
Nice.
And you guys?
I'm also in LA.
in Italy.
Oh, you're in
Okay.
Italy?
Yeah.
I thought you were in London.
No, it's just the accent.
Oh,
My accent's still in England, but I left.
nice. Good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you.
So it's amazing we can chat like this. You're both in LA and I'm here in Italy. So there's conversations at real speed. It still boggles the mind.
I remember going to like theme park, like Disney World as a child, and they would have examples of stuff like this on that like spaceship Earth, like all the future technology. And it's all stuff we've so far surpassed at this point. It's crazy that like already, like, where are we going from here? Blessing and a curse, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do think people
It's funny,
need
your
people.
philosophical scientist says on your name of the show
Mhm.
what you join as. So that's a coincidence.
Yeah, how did that? Oh, I thought that was just maybe already in your system.
No, it's just completely random, but there's some sort of psychic element there, I think. So
Very good.
so what can we kick? Have you given, first question, Michael, have you given any thought as to what the song should be about? Is there anything we should focus on?
I can tell you what my life purpose is, and that would be fun, you know. But
Let's do it.
yeah, so my life purpose is to help people live in the present moment more often. And the reason being is because that is where wisdom is revealed. It's where all things that are true, beautiful, and good are experienced. It's also where high performance is expressed. And so, I think that if there's a tone that we are capable of so much, and when we really sit down and reimagine the human experience, reimagine humanity, my optimistic approach to that exercise, it leads me to a state of flourishing for more people across the planet. And so that's where I go. And then if there's something about that that's cool, it's also, there's a, in the world of high performance, there's a dark side, and it's quite prickly. there's a internal scratchiness that takes place for people that is unsettling. And the cost of the pursuit can be quite jarring. And so I don't want to just be doe-eyed, and say like life is amazing for everybody that thinks it can be. It takes some serious work.
Okay, so what does I wanted to ask you about the dark side also, because what is a tip? Let's just maybe go a bit more about what you're, because you're I'm not into life coaches, but when I was read more about you, I discovered you weren't a life coach.
No, I'll start to get a rash here.
Yeah, you have the same aversion though to the
Yeah.
yeah. So what is it? Let's go more about you. What are you? Because you were the Seahawks team
Psychologist, sports psychologist.
Sports psychologist. And are you still doing that? What is your focus now?
Yeah, my work is so sport and performance psychology is my training, and from the mountaintop, I'm more interested in translating those lessons to the masses. Like, what can we learn from the science, the psychology of excellence? What can we learn? What can we share from those some of the most extraordinary thinkers and doers across the planet? And so that's what I'm most interested in. And but I think I lost track of the center of your question.
Well, I'm also into Dr. Steve Peters, who I was a cyclist before. Have you heard of him in the UK?
No.
He also does. So it's a very niche job that you do, this this sports psychologist. So what can we learn from that? What is it that you do that high performance athletes, what is applicable to everyone?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer that very concretely, but just as some context is that I cut my teeth and I really learned in the working laboratory of high consequence. And so traditional stick and ball sport does not offer high consequence. It's perceived most of the time. So true consequence is like when the luxury of a mistake is not afforded. And when mistakes can lead to death, and so those exact environments are ones where they are amplifiers and accelerators for the psychology of excellence. What does that mean? To answer your question is like, if you don't have your psychology together, then the consequences are too great. So they come into those environments with a well-conditioned mind, a well-conditioned craft, and a well-conditioned body. Those are the only three things that we can train as humans: our craft, our body, and our mind. And they are not leaving one of those three up to chance. And so then let's learn from them. And so here's what it's about. There's 5 main factors: self-discovery. Who are you? What are your guiding principles? What is your purpose in life? What are the virtues that sit underneath everything? And then so that's factor 1, self-discovery. Factor 2 is mindset skills. So you can, just like you train your body or just like you train your craft, in the musical arts, sets and reps. So you can train to be calm. You can train to be confident. You can train to have deep focus. You can train to trust yourself. So those are mental skills. The third factor is psychological framework, which is, a fancy way of saying, how do you make sense of the world around you? Are you optimistic or pessimistic? Are you committed to mastering the things that are in your control? Or are you chasing the things that you have poor leverage over, all the other things that you cannot control? I don't know somebody who's best in the world that is fundamentally pessimistic and trying to control things that are not in their control. They're obsessed with getting the very few things that we absolutely can control right. And they, when they think about the future, they think about all the things that could be amazing. And then the third on the psychological framework is that there's a pervasive passion that comes with the approach, this challenger approach to life. And they're able to bounce back from difficult, challenging mistakes or consequences or environments. So that's that resiliency, kind of psychological agility, I would call it. And then the last two is that they recover better than everybody else because they value recovery. They know to perform and be their very best, they need to sleep right. They need to eat and drink right. They need to move right. They need to think well. And so those are kind of the basic foundations of recovery. And then the last is mindfulness. The fifth factor is mindfulness. The practice of being more aware so that you can pivot and adjust.
Well, that's a lot to unpack. Gosh, I'm just making notes here. I mean, I've trained my body, I've trained my craft, but I don't know that I've ever trained my mind that way. I mean, with that sort of, I've done meditation.
That's part of it. That's a good bit of work.
Yeah. And your brain is a muscle, just like everything else.
Yeah. And so that's a good point, is that your brain and your mind, we can separate them. They're all interlinked. I don't want to be confusing, but the brain typically referred to as the 3 pounds of tissue in the skull, and the mind, and so call that the hardware, and the mind is like the software that runs it.
Consciousness.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then we can also think of consciousness. That's the mental training, is that consciousness tends to illuminate this idea of being aware, but we can also train how we speak to ourselves, which is how we think about the mind, right? Is that the inner narrative, the meaning-making machine that's in there. So consciousness is this thing that, depending on how you think about it, that we're all connected to, or that each of us has an individual consciousness, or there's a collective consciousness. But then the mind is something that kind of hooks around consciousness. And the mind is the meaning-making machine that's unique to you. And it is, it's often expressed in ways of dialogue or monologue sometimes.
I always say that everything's a lesson and everyone's a teacher. It's kind of something I hang on to because it's always helped me, I think, especially when things aren't going well. I'm okay, well, where do I need to pivot? Why is this showing up for me? And how do I make sure it doesn't show up again? And I think we're so programmed in our world to always be reaching for things that are outside of ourselves. Especially my generation, I always say we were the sacrificial lambs of consumerism. Even with our toys, you couldn't just have one. You had to collect a whole series with every toy from my childhood was a collector's item. No one's what Beanie Babies. Oh, just suckers. But it was programming our young minds to think that we had to have value. We had to have not just one of these things, but the whole set. And, for so many people, it's so hard, I think, to come out of that, come into your awareness and out of that sort of matrix programmed brain.
Yeah, I think you're onto something really important, which is that people have bought this idea that we need to do more, in your case, buy more, but we need to do more to be more. And what we're learning from Best in the World is that they're flipping that model, and they're saying, I need to be more and let the doing flow from there. And that being is, I need to be more present, more grounded, more connected, more creative, more authentic. And if I can hold that being in any condition across any environment and let the doing flow from there, that essentially is the path of mastery.
Amazing.
These are great lyrics. Just gonna.
I know there's so many gems. I hope you're writing them down. Otherwise,
A long song.
Times.
It's just.
Listen, I love what you guys have done. And like your craft is, it's really cool. You know, you guys are carving your unique path, and it's inspiring. You know, I think that that's one of the things that I'm inspired by is people that are uniquely carving their own path and then doing it together, is something that is super inspiring. So I love what you guys are doing. Super novel.
Thank you. That's kind of what Jack and I were talking about before you hopped on. Um, like I said, I'm, super fortunate, I think, from the circumstances I was born. My parents are like the nicest, most loving, non-judgmental people. I grew up, very normal, like healthy, happy life. And so that has allowed, and I'm an Aquarius moving into this, but it's allowed me to always kind of be a pretty optimistic person. And something I've always said is like, someone's got to believe it. It might as well be me. Because if I
Yeah,
don't believe it, no one's going to believe what I'm selling.
yeah, why not? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's
Especially
right.
in an industry where what I'm selling is myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, sounds really dangerous to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not so sure that you can really sell yourself, but you can express ideas. And if people are interested in, um, or inspired by, or want to critique it or whatever, but I don't think that that's you. I think that I work with artists as well. And I hear that and I go, oh, holy shit. Like I have such respect for the artist life and the vulnerabilities required for it that, it just sounds so dangerous to say I'm selling my,
I really like that you said express
yeah.
all you can do is express yourself, and people are either gonna be into it or not.
And you know when it's authentic.
Yeah.
You know when you've sold out for what they might want or held true to the purity of what makes sense to you. Like I know it too. You know it.
Mhm.
And so those that are going to travel the thin herd and get out into the frontier of authenticity and the courage to be able to share from that place, they're world changers. And artists have that ability to do it as well. I mean, I hear lyrics in my head all the time.
Mhm.
You know, some are wise and some are not, but some have good beats, you know,
It's
right?
true.
Yeah.
I was saying to Jack, I'm like, I love that you're doing this and putting more music into the world about
Mm,
poignant topics and important conversations and all of this subject matter that is mildly lost in like the Bugattis and the, you know, making it rain at the club and like whatever heartbreak and whatever else we're talking about in like modern pop music to have, because music is just vibration and frequency, and we're just vibration and frequency plus matter.
mm.
And I think, anytime you're at like a big festival, which I'm ready for that to come back, but like being in the room with live music has this incredible effect on people where everyone is so different in the
Right.
realm, but in that moment, we're all kind of like one, and we're all like vibing and flowing together. And the power of that, I think, is so important. That's what I feel like my
That's
purpose.
awesome.
Yeah.
My wife and I, she grew up as an artist, as a professional dancer.
Ah,
And then, so she's got the expressive, and the deep chops to be able to back it up. Like, she had a nice career. And, and I always say, God, if I could come back, if there's such a thing as, that I would love to
totally is.
as a musician. And so, so I love what you guys are doing. No,
So when maybe it's easy when you're talking to a sports professional, it's kind of easy. You know, what's your objective? It's to get the ball in the net or something like that. But when an artist comes to you for coaching, and what kind of process do you go through? Obviously, every artist is different. But
yeah,
could you give us some?
yeah, we all have the same. Well, we all have the same hopes and dreams for our children. We have the same basic hopes and dreams for our own lives and our loved ones. We breathe the same air, and we have the same fears. And so they just show up in different forms for different people. But the fear of not being good enough the fear of being the fear of other people's opinions is one of the great drivers and constrictors of human potential. And so it tends to be not unique to the particular artist or athlete or executive or entrepreneur. It tends to be universal, the things that we spend time on, which is we have this ancient brain, and the ancient brain is not properly equipped for modern stress. It hasn't adapted yet for modern stressors. So the brain's dictum is survival. So it scans the world and finds all the modern potential threats, and then has a very predictable cascade of chemistry that takes place when we perceive a threat, whether it's real or not. And one of the great threats in modern time is no longer the saber-toothed tiger. The great threat is, what will you think of me if I am not enough?
Oh, that like resonates so deeply. I I always joke that like our hardware hasn't caught up with the software. Like I read somewhere that like people in Shakespeare's time took in as much data in their entire lifetime as you can take in just reading the New York Times cover to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was something I struggled with for a very long time. My inner saboteur was like, what will people think of me?
Yep.
Or am I going to offend someone? Or are people going to like me? Am I good enough? Like all these things that come out with you or come at you. And I like for kids now, I cannot fathom growing up with like a quantifiable number over my head as to how cool I am or not.
Number of likes.
Yes.
Well, this is okay. This is really important because I think our work is, as adults in the room, is to reimagine humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And with the modern stressors, with the ancient brain that is guiding so much of us. And if we learn from the environment of high performance, every ball that I touch or don't touch is statted. So that inspection and public display of proficiency and skill has been in elite sporting environments for a long time. So now it's not, but there's a conditioning that comes with it. There's a preparation to deal with those objective observations of your proficiency, of your skill. The bubble above the head, how many likes you have and all that, it's the same, but there's not the training to help people understand how to make sense of it. So it is, there's a reason anxiety, depression, addiction is on the rise, because we haven't properly shared the key message that happens in elite sport, which is the most free athletes, the true masters of craft, have decoupled who they are from what they do. They've decoupled it. So when they go into their environment, their identity is no longer at risk. So it's an opportunity to express what they've come to understand.
So if they lose the match, it doesn't affect their self-esteem or anything.
No, they're free from it because they've decoupled who they are from what they do. And when that is when life begins.
I think that
Before you came on, we were talking to Katie. She was saying that she's working for a charity for children, Buddha Bullying Cape. So maybe we could talk about how this affects children then, and even very young kids.
Yeah. So I created the elementary programming for an anti-bullying organization, because anti-bullying in general, like when someone tells me not to do something, I just want to do it more,
Yeah.
So like, don't do something. Well, now I just want to see. But with bullying, especially in this like cyber generation, it is just so crippling for people and children. Like I'm not particularly someone that really cares what other people think of me. And I see it get to, I'm aware that I get affected by it in certain situations. So I can't fathom what these like young developing minds, what they're going through. And so I had been working on this like little program for years and years and years. And then Buddha Bullying gave me the opportunity to sort of bring it to life and like bring it into action. But it's a children's
Very cool.
empowerment program that's based like kindergarten to third grade. And the idea spawned from my brother. He grew up super empowered. He had 2 older siblings. He was always cool. And I saw what I tried to like, digest what it was that allowed him to be so empowered. And how do we give that to kids? How do we teach those lessons to kids that, don't have 2 loving, supportive parents, that aren't sure where their next meal is coming from, that don't have a support system of friends or family around them to empower them and allow them to feel like who they are is enough. And then, so the program's called Cape Nation, and it stands for courage, appreciation, personal health, and education, because those are the things it takes to be a superhero. And this is our world to save, to change, to make a better place. And it starts with you. But like through each, we talk about a lot of those, like courage doesn't always mean running into a burning building. Sometimes it means just being brave enough to get out of bed in the morning because the world needs you. And I teach them like a little meditation to see their courage flame inside and open their eyes, because they're still so young at that point.
Mhm.
But I think having these tools is so important, especially when there's so much coming at them all the time. Like
Yeah.
people's attention spans now are 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Like we just cannot get quick enough content, and just all day, like machines. And it's so hard to be mindful. Appreciation is all about gratitude, personal
Yeah.
health. Like, what are you eating? We got to move our bodies. You only get one for your whole life. What are you going to do with it? And then education. And like, I know I didn't do great in school, and it wasn't because I wasn't smart. It's just because I couldn't really be contained by a classroom. And so I try and encourage that, but I'm constantly learning. I'm throwing myself into everything I find interesting, but like the traditional education model was just not for me.
Yeah.
So telling kids, especially when they're in school, that you don't have to be good at everything. All you have to do is do your best. And whatever it is that you love, learn everything you can about it and essentially master that. Because I think there's so much pressure on everyone all the time to become what society deems successful, that people don't have like the understanding that like you are enough just because you are.
Mm.
Who's telling us that?
Find mastery.
Who's telling us that?
Michael Sh-
No one is telling us that, because they can't make money off people who are happy with who they are,
Yeah. Right.
or at least not as much. So
One of the things that is a kind of core foundational first principle is that everything you need is already inside you.
Mm.
And kind of coming from that place, I think is incredibly, that is what empowerment is. It's like helping others recognize their inner capabilities are extraordinary. Like, it's quite amazing.
Mhm.
And then when we find ourselves when we're flipped upside down because of like fear and anxiety or fatigue or whatever, it's like, it gets confusing for people, for all of us, me included. I
So what would be
suffered from anxiety.
so what would be for a children, if you had just half an hour with children to do a therapy or to do a teaching session, what would you, from your 5 points, what could you get over to them that maybe Katie could incorporate in her program?
Oof. I'm not so good with kids. So I have
Not everyone.
Wrong answer there.
yeah, I have I have a 12-year-old, and I know him really well, intimately well, but I don't really know how to work with kids properly. I will tell you that the way that I work with my son, if we could map it with others, is that I love him for who he is, not for who he's going to become. I'm more interested, and I play back to him all the time how much I love seeing him try to figure it out. Like it's a deep joy of mine. So like when he does something performative, the car ride home is not the most dangerous time of his day, where it is for many kids. And so when he does something performative, my response is something like, just that. Like, I love seeing you try to sort it out. What'd you learn? What was fun? What was hard? Anything surprise you? And so it's more of a curious approach. If I was to work with kids, I would model curiosity and high regard, and not not know anything other to do with them. That's just the orientation I come. Do they need to know how to meditate? Yeah. Do they need to understand that what they say to themselves is in their control and that they can choose? Yeah. And is breathing an important skill? Yeah. And, nutrition requires discipline. Yeah. Is sleep important? Yeah. I would get all those things that you mentioned. I get down with all those, but I would model curiosity, high regard, high unconditional regard.
What does high regard mean? Can you expand on that?
A high regard?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you regard something, it's like you are cherishing it. There's a regard for the essence of that person. And so high, positive, unconditional regard is this orientation that you have towards the essence of the other. And some people regard, I don't know, something on their mantle, like they revere it or regard it. I'm talking about using that with other humans.
Mhm.
Okay.
To me, like in this social media driven world, the comparison is often like the greatest enemy to people's self-confidence, to their authenticity. Like, I've never really been that into sport. My dad always wanted me to play volleyball because I'm tall and he thought I would be good at it. And I was like, it's fun sometimes, but that's just like not who I was. Where like dance and music and all of those things just like oozed out of me. And I was fortunate that my parents did nurture that, where I think most people are stuck in a situation where they're not in their authentic code. They're trying to be something, because society deems it more valuable, like a celebrity or a professional athlete. Like,
Right.
like LeBron James is obviously genetically predisposed to be a better basketball player than me or anyone else in the game. But he took what was innate to him and all of like the blessings that he had in who he was, and he really cultivated it. And I think if we were able to help people at a younger age value their uniqueness instead of their, instead of just trying to make them part of the machine.
And also, a lot of these people are not happy. I mean, maybe you've seen that as well, Michael. But at the top are these athletes who achieve great things. Are they? They're not always happy, no?
No, there's an internal scratchiness. This is the dark side that we were mentioning earlier. Like there's an internal unsettledness that can accompany people pursuing. There's two pursuits: the best or your best. There's a couple different approaches. Like I'm trying to a selfish orientation or an altruistic orientation. And so people that are trying to be the best for their self needs, there's a deep suffering that comes with it. People that are trying to be their best for their self needs, there's a little bit more freedom. But people that are trying to be their best to help others be their best, and in essence, they become the pebble in the pond that creates the ripple effect across their communities. That's where we see like the extraordinary take place for people, because this is a special operator in the Navy SEALs shared this insight with me. He said, "Mike, if people only really knew what they're capable of." I go, "Yeah, you're right." And he says, "And when something really matters to you, you'll do whatever it takes. You'll do whatever it takes." But what doesn't really matter is what other people think. For most people, what really matters, is like a loved one's life. You'd step in front of a bus for a loved one's life, right? But I don't know. I'm getting a little off axis on some of this, but there's an unsettledness that takes place for people. Not everybody, but there is for me.
Well, we see a lot of, artists and entertainers struggle with that because they get very caught up in the brand that the music business has turned them into,
Mm-hmm.
and which isn't their full and total self, but like, about 10 years into the success of their careers, I feel like Lady Gaga and Katy Perry both had a little bit of like, mental breakdowns where Katy like just had cameras in her house and only wanted to be called Catherine. My real name's Catherine Hudson. And Lady Gaga kind of had the same thing. She only wanted to go by Stephanie. And that's when she made her like Joanne album and did this whole thing, because any business and like the construct of the world as it's perceived, I feel like tries to, take these really bright lights and turn them into just like money machines.
Mhm.
But there's still a person in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of that pressure, I think, comes from having not just so many eyes on you, but living up to a creation that isn't fully authentic. Like Katy Perry is not Katy Perry all the time. She's really Catherine Hudson, And like Lady Gaga is not just some, artsy New York girl in a meat dress. But when that's so much of your public persona, like to strip that all away, I think is hard for people. There's so much in, because I don't know that like older celebrities were like that, or artists. Maybe they are. It's just a constant, I don't know. But what do you see in athletes? Like, do they get so, do they struggle with only being identified as this great athlete as opposed to, they're like a good husband or a good father, like just a good friend, all these other things that make them really human? Do they sometimes feel like, they're being eaten alive by the pressure of the persona that they are instead of the person that they are?
Yeah. Yes and no. It's not universal. Each person in whatever locker room is going to have their own experience. Some are more well known than others, and the balance between. Let's just start with an assumption. Balance is the mythical ridgeline. Balance is a mythical ridgeline. So the balance between the professional life, the personal life, the public life, the private life, the balance between home and work, like it's a mythical ridgeline, and I think it's a tapestry that each one of us is trying to uniquely sew together, and it's not easy. So we work more from, instead of like balance between those two, we work more from trying to create the right levels of integration, so that you can be authentically you in every environment that you're in. Some environments, though, are safer than others.
Mm.
And some environments do require, for highly public people, do require some proper bumpers in place. And but that's not for everybody. Some people are like, no, I'm just going to, fuck it. I'm just going to be me, And so there's a cost to that too.
Mhm.
There's a lot of freedom in there. So each person is uniquely different.
Like Kanye
Balance
West.
Yeah. Well, I don't know him, but I think that what I read, that he's suffering from some, mental disorders as well. So that gets complicated.
Mhm.
But is that him that was trying to run for president?
Mhm.
Yeah, I heard. And I don't know. I don't know if he's got a mental disorder, but
Can I ask you a question about, you talk about fear in your work. Could you talk a bit about fear and bravery?
yeah, for sure. So fear is something that all of us are working to build a better or fear. To work with fear, we need a relationship with fear. What is it that we're afraid of? And building that relationship and the skills when we are in the throes of fear is the two-pronged approach. And so just good old self-discovery, like what are the things that I'm afraid of? What are the triggers of those fear responses? And then when I am in those fear responses, what are the mental skills I can use to adjust? And again, most people are afraid that they don't matter, that if they don't perform well, they won't belong. And that manifests in this obsession about what other people are thinking about us.
So it comes back to that.
Yeah. And so and for most people, they're operating from perceived danger as opposed to real danger. And so, I think it back to that.
Does that have the same chemical response in your body?
Yeah, exactly the same.
And real?
Perceived and real, are the exact same experiences.
I think even doubt is rationalized fear.
Doubt
Sometimes.
is rationalized fear. Let me think. Yeah. I think I've never heard it that way. I think it's a cool statement.
So what are some of your best tips in pulling yourself out of, if you can acknowledge that you're being reactive and in a sort of like fear mentality, what are your best tools in pulling yourself out of that place?
Okay. Yeah. So let's do, let's go upstream for just a moment. I don't know any tips or tricks or hacks or shortcuts, but I do know there's fundamental commitments and there are core skills to work from. So a fundamental commitment is that my first principles matter to me, my values and virtues and principles. And so I'm going to commit to living aligned to those. That's like a full commitment. My purpose is a way to kind of have a full commitment. Like, am I going to really align to what I think is my purpose in life? And I'm going to get to the fear thing in a minute. This is materially important, is that the best in the world teach us. Here's the mistake. When we see the best in the world on the podium, the national anthem singing, or the medals around their neck, or they're hoisting the trophy or whatever, they're getting the award, is that the mistake is to say, oh, aren't they special? The opportunity is to say, how have they organized their life? And when we look, we see that there's a fundamental commitment to growth. There's a fundamental commitment to find opportunities that teach them what skills that they need to refine. And so there's incredible vulnerability met with the courage to stay in that space as long as they possibly can to truly learn what it is that they want, what is required for them to get better. And then so when those that have made those commitments are in the throes of a fear response, they tend to go, great, like I'm in it. What do I need to learn? Oh, okay, well, I can't move my elbow this way. I can't get my body to get this note very well or whatever. Like, but that when they're in those fear responses, like, oh, okay. And then what led me down this path? And then, so there's an awareness and a commitment to get to the truth that is different from those that end up not
persevering.
Yeah, not getting on.
You must have seen these traits. You must have recognized, and doing your podcast as well, Finding Mastery. I mean, speaking, because you already written a book and now you speak to so many different people. You must started to pick up on these traits. And
I wouldn't call it a trait, because a trait is like it's an inborn thing.
Okay.
It is it's a fundamental commitments that they have.
Right.
Yeah.
So how much of like daily ritual and like daily practice
I was going to ask, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is intertwined in that? Because that's what something I struggle with. Like no day is ever the same. No week is ever the same.
Yeah.
No month is ever the same. And I also I have enormous amount of passion. I do that charity. I have my own music career. I have a vintage business. I do other things. And I know there's
That's
power in
difficult.
no,
You need that structure. You need that routine
but
to get results.
sometimes I get enough sleep, but certainly not all the time. And daily ritual is something, people some of my mentors and people I've been working with are like, no matter what, you just need like a morning ritual or some kind of daily ritual that checks you in every day, because I'm sort of a free flying Aquarian balloon.
Definitely.
So
I've been trying.
What's that?
I found a lot of times when I've been trying really hard, I've been pushing really hard, but my feet have been slipping for a lot of my life.
I think you guys are onto something. I got to actually got to change shirts for another interview I'm doing, but I'm listening and can you hear me if I'm talking from?
We've got a great tour of you. You have an amazing house, Michael.
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah. We got lots of light. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Okay. So, here's a fundamental principle: build structure to break structure. And the artist in you would recognize that, right?
Build structure.
To break structure.
Build structure to break structure. Build routines to break routine. Build form to break form. And so, I am a fan of building structure so that I can break structure later. And that's the creative aspect. And so, habits are cool, but then if we are dictated by the habits, there's a problem. But I will tell you, I have a structure that's been incredibly valuable for me. It's a morning mindset experience. And so my body wakes up in the morning, and then I just finish the job by waking up my mind. And I do it by 4 things. So the first is one deep breath. This is while I'm still in bed. And it just wakes up a certain center in my brain to say, oh, you're okay. Everything's cool. I'm taking, instead of me checking into the noise, I'm just setting my brain to be calm. And then the second is a thought of gratitude. And then the third is a clear intention for the day. And then the fourth is, let me get some water real quick. Then the fourth is, I just put my feet, I get out of bed, I pull off the sheets, and I just take a moment to be where my feet are. So I put my mind and my body in the same place, which is the practice of presence. So that's how I wake up my mind in the morning before I tune into the noise of the world. And so that's a habit that is mapped to good science, and it also feels great to do.
Why you don't roll over and check Facebook then?
No, well, not immediately. I do check into it, but it's not one of the first things that I'm doing. No.
Yeah.
Those are some things I've been advised to avoid social media in the morning. Make sure I do some meditation or something to start my day properly.
Right.
Because I'm I want to get every last second of sleep.
Well, you have a fresh brain in the morning,
Yeah.
It's your best time. Your brain is at the best. You have the best energy. Why waste it on consuming what other people have been doing?
Well, because I know days where I do that, where I, meditate first thing or, set my intention for the day or speak some positive affirmations in the mirror in the morning, that day is always significantly better than days that I don't, because my mindset, how I approach everything is in a positive, aligned, authentic, good tea. How's that?
This is it's an on-the-go tea. It's organic. It's high quality. It's fucking expensive. But I love tea, and it doesn't allow you don't have to brew it. You just kind of drop it in, and they've done a pretty nice job. Yeah. But you're right on the money about your authentic self. It's available to you right in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great.
Write the best songs in the morning, fresh.
Do you?
Channeling.
Do you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably because there's another thing that's taking place in the morning too, is that theta brainwaves are more available.
Oh,
So
there we
theta
go.
brainwaves are more the creative brainwave.
It happened with the last interview I did. I was doing the song. I'd said throughout the interview, the song is going to be about learning. It's about teaching. The song's going to be about teaching and learning.
Cool.
And then in the morning when I woke up the next day, it wasn't. The song that came out was about the power of music and the science of sound.
Oh,
So
hello.
Gotta hear that one.
yeah.
What's
So then,
the new for this one?
well, I could tell you now, but I might be wrong. So
yeah, good.
I try not to write songs. I try to let them write themselves.
Really?
exactly same here.
Yeah.
I listen. I want to get into a studio. I'm sorry, I'm like grooming myself, but I've got the interview I got to get to.
What is your next interview for?
I'm doing a thing with. Do you know Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah.
You know that.
No.
So I'm doing a project with him where we're taking him across the planet and going to do fucking scary things. Keep that out in your song because.
Yeah.
Is this the guy the Red Bull guy that jumped out the plane?
No, that's Felix Baumgartner.
Okay. You work with a lot of interesting people. It's hard to keep track.
Keep that out of your fucking song.
Oh,
Okay.
top secret.
Yeah, but you could put Red Bull in there.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was like jumping from the edges of space.
Yeah.
That's a project on human potential. That's amazing.
Crazy.
So pushing the limits of human potential is really like those edges are what get me really excited.
That's
I know you're working on a new book. I always ask everyone because it's nice to get ahead of the curve, you know.
Yeah, I am.
what's it called?
There we go.
Yeah, I wrote an article for a Harvard Business Review, and it was fun. It was good. I liked it. And where did I put my phone? And they that was in 2019, and they emailed me and they said, "Hey, can we set up a call?" That article went well. I said, "Yeah, great." And so it was the number one downloaded article. And so they offered a book deal based on the article. And the
Wow.
article was about fear of other people's opinions. And I coined it FOPO. And so we're running with it. We're going to write a smallish book, not 274 pages, but more like 180 pages.
That's a
I
lot.
think it's probably more effective in a time where people have an 8-second attention span.
Yeah, totally. That's why we did an Audible book as well. Like I didn't
Love Audible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to get the book, but it was only Audible. Yeah.
Yeah. It's only on Audible. Yeah.
Is it out now?
Yeah. I can,
Oh.
Are you an Audible member?
I am.
Oh, good. I can look for a code, but it's only $12,
I have
So,
so many credits.
yeah,
I got it.
It's called Compete to Create.
Compete to create. I love
So
that.
So here's my philosophy, and I got to go.
Yes.
My philosophy is, every day is an opportunity to create a living masterpiece. And, so that's one of that is my core philosophy.
Have you heard of Big Magic? Do you know
No.
Elizabeth Gilbert? She wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah.
She has a book called Big Magic. I think you would really enjoy. But it's about the art of creative living, how we are all creators and should be living a creative life. And that doesn't mean we're all going to be famous artists or musicians. Sometimes, that just means if you loved figure skating, that you just wake up an extra hour early and you do that for yourself in the morning. And that's your creative expression. Because when we're all more in alignment with that part of ourselves, the world is a better place.
Hey, I don't know if we did. I mean, shit, I want to read that book. And I don't know if we did you guys justice of what you need from me, because I know it's late, but you want to get on again? No problems. Like honestly, my whole team was jacked for this. And I was like, I feel so special. You make me feel really special. And so I'm really honored, like, honestly. And so thank you for being interested. And you will not get critique from me. I'll just be in awe of whatever you create. And,
You gave us some serious gems. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to have
Too much.
banger.
Too much. We're gonna have to distill. Yeah.
Hey, fire in the belly for you guys, and keep carving your path. I love it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Oh, well, that went well, eh? He was super relaxed. Yeah, I've never had a guest change their clothes in mid-interview. So luckily he did it off camera.
I know. I love that he like wanted to stay on till the very last minute too. Like respect that, because I feel like a lot of people are like, I have another meeting. Goodbye.
Yeah. No, it's great. Wow. I've got a page full of notes here, so
I love it.
yeah.
I was gonna take some, but I was just trying to like listen. Sometimes I cannot multitask, so
Oh no.
if I'm writing, then I stop listening because I'm trying to remember what I'm writing down.
All right.
But
Well, let's go away and digest this and distill it down into its true essence, like a tea, an expensive tea bag that's just there and magic in your mouth.
can you send me the like session, the
Sure.
audio,
Of course I can.
so that I can like listen back and like
Good idea.
pull out the things I really want to do?
Yeah.
And then do you want to produce the track, or do you want?
I think it's nice to collaborate, so we can do a bit. Let's see how the song comes out, and we can just do a bit each, back and forth, and see what's best, what direction we feel it should go in, and organic process.
Yeah, because I've listened to like a few of yours, and I feel like you have a varying range of styles depending on the thing. So
Yeah,
excited to see what we can make together.
it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a journey of discovery.
Hell yeah!
All right.
Thank you so much
No problem.
for inviting me to do this with
It
you.
was a blast.
So,
Thank you. You're a great co-host.
oh my God, it was wonderful. Yeah, sorry if I talked too much. I told you. Kind of gave you a warning.
Yeah. No, you had a lot to say. All right, Katie. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Every day's an opportunity to create a living masterpiece. Biggest thing that holds us back is the fear of what other people think. Your most authentic self's available to you every day, everywhere that you meet your feet. Cause when we're present and we're grounded and we're mindful, that's when life gets really sweet. Cause baby, you're a work of art. The artist is inside your heart. Your body's the canvas, your mind is the paint. Once you got the picture, you can go on and make your masterpiece. Your masterpiece. Oh, oh. Time for self-discovery. We'll help you find who you're supposed to be. If you see the glass half empty, then fill the rest with opportunity. Perfect is a myth, you see, but practice makes a master. Just keep pushing past the limits of what you thought you could be. Cause baby, you're a work of art. The artist is inside your heart. Your body's the canvas, your mind is the paint. Once you got the picture, you can go on and make your masterpiece. Your masterpiece. Oh, oh. Because we've all got the chance to be the best versions of ourselves, and we can learn to harness all the gifts we've each got to express. You're enough just because you are. Everything you need is inside of you. Your inner capabilities are absolutely extraordinary. 'Cause baby, you're a work of art. The artist is inside your Once you got the picture, you can go on and make your masterpiece. Your masterpiece. Oh.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show and the song. If you want to hear the song again, it's available on all music streaming services or for a $1 download from podsongs.com. You can also subscribe there for our newsletter, for all other news and updates. A big thanks to our musical production team here in Italy, Maurizio Sanecola, Massimino Vozza, and Luigi Falcione, and my researcher, Dori Verbo. Please help us by sending this episode to your friends, sharing it on social media, and reviewing it wherever you can. I also have another show to listen to. It's called The Mystic Cast, and it's about spirituality, UFOs, mysticism, the occult, and the Ethereal Society, the teachings of which led me to start this project, serving the servers, helping those who help others. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.